Welcome to Dreamy Tales, where soothing stories guide you into a peaceful night's sleep. Enjoy imaginative bedtime stories that take you on a journey to the land of dreams, accompanied by relaxing background sounds to help you unwind and drift off easily. Perfect for both children and adults, Dreamy Tales is your ideal companion to relax, wind down, and enjoy tranquil moments. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share it with others. Tune in, relax, and let your mind wander into a world of calm and serenity with us. In the heart of Whisker City, where the narrow streets twist like tangled yarn, lived Felix, a clever black cat with a reputation that stretched far beyond the alleyways. He wasn't your average street cat. Felix was a legend in the making, known for his smooth-talking ways and unmatched skills in pulling off heists that others wouldn't dare attempt. His gleaming green eyes sparkled with mischief, always on the lookout for the next grand opportunity. And in Whisker City, there was no greater treasure than the legendary enchanted catnip of Madam Whiskers. This was no ordinary garden variety catnip.
Oh no!
Rumors had long swirled about the magical properties of this enchanted plant. It was said to give those who consumed it incredible agility, heightened senses, and a surge of energy like no other. But the most tantalizing rumor of all was that it could unlock dreams and desires buried deep in a cat's heart, making it the most coveted prize among the feline residents of Whisker City. But acquiring this treasure would not be easy. Madam Whiskers, the wealthiest and most enigmatic cat in town, lived in a grand mansion surrounded by an enchanted garden where the prized catnip grew. Her garden was a fortress, guarded day and night by her two enormous and fearsome dogs, Spike and Bruno, who roamed the grounds with jaws ready to snap at the slightest provocation. Adding to the challenge, Madam Whiskers had a loyal servant, Cawley the crow, who served as her watchful eye in the sky, surveying the garden from above and alerting the dogs at any sign of intruders. Felix had been watching, waiting, and planning. He knew that breaking into Madam Whiskers' garden would require a team. This wouldn't be just any ordinary heist. It had to be perfectly executed, with each member of his crew playing their part to perfection. There was no room for error. With the stakes this high, Felix gathered his two most trusted friends, Leo, the strong and reliable tabby, and Whiskers, a lithe and agile Siamese whose speed was unparalleled. The trio met late one night in the shadows of an old fish market, where the smell of salt water mingled with the scent of fresh fish. Leo, his muscular frame silhouetted against the moonlight, listened as Felix laid out the plan. Madam Whiskers has her garden locked up tighter than a drum, Felix said, his eyes glinting with determination. But I've been watching Spike and Bruno. They've got a weakness. Every night, just before midnight, they take a break by the pond, far from the catnip patch. That's our window. Whiskers flicked her tail, her blue eyes narrowing. And what about Cawley? That crow sees everything from up there. Felix grinned. I've got a plan for Cawley. Leo, you're going to create a diversion, draw the dogs away while I keep Cawley busy. Whiskers, you're our best chance at slipping past them to grab the catnip. Leo nodded, his yellow eyes gleaming with resolve. Let's do it. The plan was in motion. Felix and his crew spent the next few nights meticulously studying the garden. They mapped out the guards' patrols, noting every detail, from the way Spike and Bruno circled the catnip patch to the exact times when Madame Whiskers would retire to her mansion. By the time the night of the heist arrived, they were ready. It was a quiet, windless evening, the kind that wrapped Whisker City in a soft blanket of stillness. The moon hung high and full in the sky, casting silvery beams over the cobblestone streets. Felix, Leo, and Whiskers crept through the alleyways, their footsteps silent as they approached Madame Whiskers' mansion. The grand iron gate loomed before them, but Felix had already discovered a small gap at the base of the wall, just big enough for them to slip through unnoticed. Once inside the garden, the trio moved quickly and with purpose. The air was thick with the intoxicating scent of flowers, and the distant sound of Spike and Bruno's low growls reminded them of the danger that lurked nearby. Felix signaled to Leo, who immediately began the diversion. Leo's muscular frame darted toward the far end of the garden, knocking over a pile of crates in the process. The loud crash sent Spike and Bruno rushing to investigate, their paws thudding heavily against the grass as they raced to the source of the noise. With the dogs distracted, Felix turned his attention to Cawley, who perched high in a tree, his sharp eyes scanning the garden. Felix, ever the smooth talker, sauntered into view just enough to catch the crow's attention. "Cawley, my friend," Felix called, his voice dripping with charm. "I must say, you're looking particularly regal tonight." The crow cocked his head, intrigued but suspicious. "What are you up to, Felix? You're not supposed to be here." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of causing any trouble," Felix replied smoothly. "In fact, I was just admiring your magnificent feathers. Tell me, do you ever get bored up there, watching the same thing night after night?" Cawley preened slightly, flattered by the attention. "It's a job, Felix. I keep the garden safe." Felix nodded, his mind working quickly. Of course. But don't you ever wish for something more exciting? Something different?" As Felix engaged Cawley in conversation, Whiskers slipped through the shadows, her slender frame barely a whisper as she approached the enchanted catnip patch. The plants glowed faintly in the moonlight, their leaves shimmering with a magical aura. Whiskers' heart raced as she reached out to grab a pawful of the precious leaves. Just as her paw touched the catnip, Cawley's sharp eyes flicked toward her, his suspicion reigniting. "Felix," the crow screeched. "You're up to something." Felix's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't falter. Thinking fast, he flicked his tail and knocked over a nearby potted plant, sending it crashing to the ground. The noise startled Cawley, who instinctively flew to investigate the disturbance. Felix took the opportunity to dash toward Whiskers, grabbing her by the scruff and pulling her into the shadows just as Spike and Bruno returned, their noses sniffing the air. "Quick, this way," Felix hissed, leading his friends through the maze of garden paths, away from the approaching dogs. They slipped through the gap in the wall and back into the safety of the city streets, their hearts pounding in their chests. Panting and exhilarated, the trio collapsed in an alley, the enchanted catnip safely tucked in Whiskers' satchel. They had done it. They had pulled off the greatest heist in Whisker City history. As they lay there, catching their breath, Felix couldn't help but smile. The catnip was a treasure, yes, but the real prize was the adventure, the thrill of the chase, the camaraderie of his friends, and the knowledge that they had outwitted the best defenses Madame Whiskers could muster. Later that night, back in their hideout, they shared a small taste of the magical catnip. As the mystical effects took hold, Felix felt a surge of energy coursing through him. His senses sharpened, and for the first time, he felt as if he could see the world in vivid detail. Whiskers moved with even more grace than before, her agility enhanced tenfold. And Leo, already the strongest of the group, felt an unprecedented surge of strength and power. But as the euphoria of the catnip began to fade, Felix looked around at his friends and realized something profound. It wasn't the magic of the catnip that made them special, it was the bond they shared, the trust they had in one another, and the joy of living life on the edge, together. As dawn broke over Whisker City, Felix and his crew knew one thing for certain: this wouldn't be their last heist. There were always more adventures to be had, more treasures to uncover, and more stories to write in the annals of Whisker City's history.